Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Everyday Black Man podcast. We have our special guest, DJ All Might. Y'all know him from the last time. You got myself, Ari Armstead couldn't be here, but either way it goes, we're about to get into some controversial topics. Starting off with Megan Thee Stallion and how is she and DaBaby alike?
A lot of people were pressed about Megan Thee Stallion winning that BET Awards. And Lil Baby and DaBaby were like, I mean, we getting this money, so it don't matter. Why are people always so pressed over stuff that does not matter in the grand scheme of things?
Why are people acting like they care about the BET Awards? They don't respect it until the outcome comes out the way they don't want. And only reason they're mad is because Meg Thee Stallion is not as great as she should be, I guess, from the personality of things. But they've seen she's a one trick pony, so I think that's what's upsetting people. Um,
To a certain
they're,
extent, the baby is. I mean,
I
they
mean,
they both
they
have their
all are.
markets.
But it's a freaking hip hop awards. I think that's a great in itself. Y'all, BT has the music awards, so why is there a hip hop awards and a music awards? Why not put all that money in that one music awards and stop making the nigga awards? Because that's all it is. And I really don't care because I don't care about the Grammys either. The only thing that differs is the Grammys will bring more income to the artists compared to the BET Awards because they're gonna say, "Oh, I won the best hip hop artist at BET Awards, so I'm still gonna pay you this." They don't say
Exactly. Whereas a Grammy, they're gonna pay you money and
yeah,
you can get paid money because of that.
but your title changes. You are the Grammy nominated or Grammy winning. They don't say the BET nominated or the MTV nominated. So I think people are
Hmm.
just mad because they're just tired of Meg Thee Stallion. Her name is in circulation too much for the Tory shit that we're tired of. Uh, she literally, along with many others, I'm not gonna just say her, but niggas are tired of twerking, and that's all we know her for. And I mean, DaBaby ain't doing nothing special. He's just the fucking male version of her. Uh, it ain't really like they're doing
That
anything
is a
different.
legendary claim, sir.
Like it just seemed. Look at it. They both came out with the same thing. I mean, he's just doing nigga shit, and she's doing promiscuous woman shit. I ain't gonna say thotty, but it is
I'll
what it
call a
is.
spade a spade. It is thotty shit.
It
But at the
is. I
same time, I
mean,
mean, we have a thotty culture. Like people love to hate on her, but then act like they're not the same ones requesting City Girl songs,
yeah.
knowing damn well that they just the most ratchet wannabe Trinas that have
I can
ever existed.
I can agree. I can openly admit that I was disappointed in the year since she dropped Big Old Freak and became like bigger because I was expecting more than what we've been getting because Big Ol' Freak was a dope song. It wasn't the traditional, City Girls and all that and Cardi B shit. It was her own lane, and then she got and stayed in this lane, and then she started collabing, obviously. And it just like I think I grew up in that era that we had Eve and all them, Lil Kim, Foxy, fucking Missy and all them. So it like I've always compared the current artists to those, and it's not like y'all need to be like them, but y'all all doing the same fucking thing. Can I get some type of other lane? And I get in an argument with that or debate with people, or especially women, when it was like, "Oh, you don't say that about them niggas." It's like, yes, I do. I don't go to Future every day. I don't listen to the Migos every day. Like, I only listen to them when I want to hear something else or that specific thing. I don't have that with the female rappers unless we're talking about Rhapsody. And that new chick, I didn't know that was on the BET Cypher. It was like a big chick. I forgot her name. But
Oh,
like,
Chika.
you, yeah, like you don't have too many different lanes of female artists. So it ain't the fact that we hating on them. There are people that are hating. I ain't. I just want something else. Like, oh, City Girls are doing that. Oh, Saweetie's doing that. Oh, Cardi's doing that. Nicki's doing that. Y'all all doing the same thing.
I mean, Sweetie's doing it because I mean she's super early in her career. So normally, you catch a trend and then you start breaking out. That's what Cardi B did. Bodak
Saweetie
Yellow,
is
Kodak Black.
industry made. Look at Saweetie when she first started hitting
Oh no,
social
no, I'm
media.
not. I'm not saying she's not industry mate, but I'm saying she's playing from the same playbook as if she was trying to get
She
hot in the
is.
streets.
They're trying to find her niche to go off of. I don't knock it. It's just like I find her annoying. Like she's trying to be the very cute, very funny chick on social media, and I'm like, whatever. Like I see through it, the gimmicks of it, and I also see what the label's doing, and it's just I'm not entertained by it. But that can also be my age. I don't know if I probably be a girl. What's like the other dudes that's talking about it that's younger. Like man, your age determines how you receive and then you respond to some of
But
these things.
most of
And
it is the mulatto problem, which mulatto's trash. But people only like her because she has a big onion butt. It going back showing my age. Um, that's the only thing they care about. They don't actually care about listening to her music. They're just like, man, I'd love to do this. I'd love to do that. And it's like, y'all realize you're never, never, ever, ever, ever going to be the person that's going to be doing that.
I
Like
I
you're
I,
just not. You're just not. Like you can run into a Cardi B. You can run into a Cardi B all day, all night, and if you try over and over again, you'll probably get that. But at the same time, my dude, you are not getting someone that's either industry made or light skinned in the zone because those people are
um
going to be able to keep maneuvering.
she's I seen her in the like I didn't know what lane she was trying to go to until I saw what she actually looked like because I remember all the hood shit she had that was like extremely aggressive. And then
Oh
I
yeah.
saw her and I was like, you know, it's not because I don't find her attractive. I'm like, she's all right, but like, it's also 1 billion of you now since IG has come out. Uh, I I don't expect her to be around too long. I mean, she's doing okay now, but I if the pandemic keeps going around, they ain't gonna have no tour dollars to pump into their career to make them like actually last longer.
Hmm. And actually
And
be able to go long term because that's the
yeah,
problem is if you're in there for a second in the mix, you can keep going for a year or two.
yeah.
But if you don't have something that's just popping off, because I think you might have said that, or it might have been our reader said a lot of these people are holding on to albums and stuff, and it's like, sadly, that's not going to matter for a lot of y'all, because unless you have, tour money that you made beforehand, DaBaby,
Hmm.
Megan Thee Stallion, then you just if this pandemic keeps going on and people keep being, like I'm not going to concerts, you're not gonna make that same money. Because the problem is that a lot of y'all just like, oh, we'll still throw concerts, and yeah, you'll do well in Atlanta, Austin, Columbia, Florida, but the Midwest and the West Coast and parts of the Upper East, they not gonna let you do that.
They're
So your
actually
tours are gonna be trash.
they're hurting because they can't go out of the country. That's where they get the bag because they are so big onto like the American, new artist thing, and
Hmm.
they make a lot of money overseas. It's just now that your ass is stuck in America until the gates open back up. And
Which
I,
it
I
ain't open up
actually
no time soon.
I remember I got attacked by the Barb sometime when she I commented on Twitter about when she canceled her tour and I just said, yeah, because she ain't selling out stadiums like she used to. That's why she needs to make it international. And the Barbs came. Did you not understand what they said? They had to cancel it because she's going international. I'm like, nah, she's going international because nobody's buying that shit here.
Exactly. That's why she's
Like,
trying to go international. But the
but
Barb's is, I mean, again, fandom is always one of those funny things because there's nothing I care about to the level of extreme fandom. But there's a lot of
yeah,
people who are just like, no, extreme fandom is love, extreme fandom is life. It's like,
nah,
if y'all put just a quarter of this energy into your lives,
bro.
y'all would be much better.
Yeah, they in worship culture like heavy. They ain't stands no more. It's now just a
Oh, yeah,
obsessive
it's
like.
idolatry.
Yeah, it's crazy. I never thought it'd get like this, but hey, we got people killing themselves because of what people saying on the internet, so I'm not shocked anymore.
Yeah, you really can't be. And that's kind of the problem.
It's trash. Yeah, mental health is fucked up now.
It is, it is. But that's exactly where I want to take it next. Kanye West interviewed himself on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh my
Um,
god.
He did have a couple of gems in the crazy. As I like to say, or not as I like to say, but as I like to tell people, you need to learn how to garden. And Kanye West talked about gardening and how kids need to understand the real world. I thought that that was actually a really good quote, and I think that that's something I hope he's actually going to keep up for the long term because, I mean, having that as something you connect with on your kids, I think is a good idea for him. And long term, that teaches your kids like skills that they can use. And also, we do need to stop babying kids because if you talk to like my mom's generation, like they know how to shoot guns, they were able to do most basic stuff. They had accounting. Nowadays, people don't even talk to their kids about money. I mean, I get it. A lot of y'all have a shit ton of debt, so that's fine. But at the same time, like you need to do more than just hang out and make sure your kids is getting food. Like you have to pour into children.
Um, I agree. I also realized that the reason why these kids are turning out the way they are is because the parents are younger. I got a classmate I'm 35, she's 34 from when I was in high school, and she's a grandmother now. Um, and this has been
Oh
around for
yeah,
a while. So I think the fact is that, I mean, granted, they had kids younger when we were,
in the past.
but they were more mature back then too, for this, lack of better argument. They knew that it was kind of like, I'm about to have a kid and either be a housewife or I'm going to be a single parent. And I'm talking about before the crack era kicked in. That kind
Well,
of threw
yeah, I
everything
mean,
to shit.
the crack era threw everything for a
Yeah,
loop. Now, one thing I will do in defense of them is that they have to learn a lot more now than our
yeah.
grandparents and our parents had to learn, because
I
there's like completely different avenue. Like online changed the entire game because you have to
this
know how to
is
behave online and not go too
yeah.
far online. There's the whole mating culture online. But go
Oh my
back to your
god.
point.
No, I was gonna say this is the smartest, dumbest generation ever born
I
because
agree with you.
they have everything in the palm of their hands, like we all do, and they don't use it for respectable things. Like you know how it's like I hate it when I heard new like artists say, "Oh, I don't listen to that old shit," but it's right there in the phone. Remember what we had to do to get a CD? Let alone let it be the cycle after that, the life cycle of that album. We never see that album again. Like
Correct. We
remember,
never see it.
but now they have it for so much and they do so much. But like then they hear like what's that? They when they remade "Nuck If You Buck" to that dance shit, they think when "Nuck If You Buck" come on that's that dance shit now. They don't care to go back, which is what I'm leading to with the intelligence of this generation. They're smart as shit, but they refuse to go back and realize that they can get gems from shit that we've all been through, our parents have been through in several generations. And the ones that do go back, you see them shine and look way more original than the carbon copies that are out here now because they honestly do the whole Kanye thing and pull from the old and make it new. And now everybody like, oh man, I would never thought of that. I mean, they were doing that back then. It's just that you only looking at what they were doing this current year. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
this
they
this
definitely don't actually think long term, and that's kind of becoming a bigger problem because you can hear it when they talk about money.
yeah. Yeah, they
Like,
don't they think about short term. Like the Birkin bag argument is a perfect example.
yeah.
Nobody knows what that looks like. I actually was thinking to myself. I remember I had a revelation that I used to think when people were bringing up fucking brands that I didn't know about, like Balenciaga and all that, that they were
Mhm.
smarter than me. Like just because they knew those brands and what it meant and where you can buy it. But I'm sitting there like that shit ain't really relevant. Oh, they got some fucking, Balmain James on or something like that, and it's like so. They don't,
Exactly.
they
That don't
looking
mean
at
shit.
me, and I'm sitting here teaching friends how to, fix their credit or improve their credit and stuff, and you want to sit there and tell them about the Gucci belt that you had to go do this for and everything, and that's when I realized they're fascinated with the wrong things. We were fascinated with them at a certain age, but we also had realistic, like goals and certain things too. Like when did you actually want a Gucci belt? Did you actually want one when you were in high school? Did you even know what the fuck a Gucci belt was in high school?
I
Like
did not.
it was around when we were kids, but we didn't know about it and we didn't really care. Now, I mean, there are kids going to high school now that's walking around in $1,000 fit.
And then get mad if somebody rob them for it. You'd
Right,
be like,
but
bro, you was walking around with 1,000. This person can go flip that immediately for 500.
right, but they can't make a batch a bag of oodles or noodles or nothing like that. So I do agree with Kanye ultimately what he said about that. That's the only thing you're gonna get me to say I agreed about because I
Oh,
watched
that
that fucking interview.
I think the second thing is also pretty good. Right now is the shortest moment of your life. The longest moments are your dreams and imaginations. I agree with him on that. I think that is actually a very astute point in his craziness because so many people neglect the now. Like you probably have seen it right now, where someone will tell you like, "Hey, DJ All Might, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna do that in time." And it's like sometimes you gotta spring for the experience. Not saying go into debt for some things, as we
Yeah,
were just saying, fuck the Gucci belts, but like right now you can go to Jamaica. If
yeah.
you're someone right now who you're not dealing with this pandemic well, and you got enough money to be able to go there for like 4 days at a resort, just go. Like I'm 100% gonna stand behind this. Just
Um,
go. If you put some of that trip on credit, I mean for the tickets, that's fine. But keep your spending money and obviously don't leave the resort because most of y'all don't make friends. So antisocial people not going to be able to get a good guide. But go see something else because if you sit at home,
oh,
that's going to make you more
I,
likely to go out and do some dumb shit here around New Year's when I
I
think we're
got a
going to have
good
the
rebuttal to that.
largest
I got a good
pandemic. But go
rebuttal.
ahead.
I
Go
got a
ahead. Go
rebuttal
ahead.
to that just because he is right in that, but just like how we always ask why are these dudes in the industry passing around the same girls? I forgot what I was watching, but they had a point and I agree with it. Them niggas ain't never left the country and they got all the money in the world. They don't know that there's a billion of this girl, a billion of that girl. And to come back to this, we didn't know anything outside of our cities, a lot of us. And I'm talking about black
Mm-hmm.
kids, poor especially. And then when we
Yep.
did, we only knew, certain states. Oh man, you been to LA or Florida, blah, blah, blah. Hence, you see the same everyday thoughts taking those cheap Southwest flights to Vegas and fucking Miami. Like, and now Tulum. Tulum is getting infested. Uh, we don't know how to dream for the world to actually want the world. And I'll speak from experience of not knowing shit until I left for the Air Force. And as I went on in my career, I got to see more of the world. And now my everyday standard is far beyond those of like people I know that never got the opportunity to do what I
Mm.
did. And then, I mean, what's funny is I go home and talk to family members that ain't never really left Chicago, and or they did, and they just go to Miami or something like that on a cheap flight. They tell me I did the easy route by going to the Air Force, and I'm like, going to Iraq is easy. Going through, selling pretty much a lot of my freedoms for 12 years of my life was easy. Okay, gotcha. But
Oh
what
yeah.
it's kind of like, all right, because I'm living better than you. I took the easy route, but I didn't
Oh, on
necessarily
top of
get.
that, you took the easy route, and it's
Yeah,
like, so you don't remember the fact that I potentially was signing up for something where I may die, like that.
yeah.
That you think that thought wasn't on my mind at key points in this journey where it's like, whew, man, that
So
mortar landed 100 feet away.
so
If it had
Kanye
been too much closer.
Kanye has a history of once he discovered the finer things in life, he only put that goalpost out there to go for the finer things in life, and he's shown that, and he's abandoned his anchor. His mom was his anchor for one, and then his moral compass just lost it. But you're a grown ass man. Every man, I mean, I know people that lose their parents. It's a fucking mental trip.
It's a nightmare, man.
You're also responsible for your own mental health beyond looking for the help of others. And I think he's in a dangerous place because he has so much money and nobody wants to say no. He's living in fucking Kardashian world, and he can do whatever he wants. Like, that's that back to with the Donald Trump thing. You get to a tax bracket to where you can do whatever you want. You don't know what reality is, so you want everybody to experience all these things. But nigga, are you gonna fund it, or are you gonna provide
Mm.
the I Promise high school that LeBron did in Akron, where kids who graduate go to fucking Ohio State? Like, you're sitting here talking about this fucking bullshit wonderland of yours, nigga. Chicago has one of the worst public education systems out there, and
He
you're
could totally change that if that's something that he wanted to do. Just put up a school
exactly.
there, charter it from the kids from the worst neighborhoods, get them completely out, give them all new clothes and stuff. Like, do the thing like Japanese and Asian schools do, where you have inside shoes and then your
Yeah,
outside shoes. Give them
yeah.
normal outside shoes so they won't get robbed, and then inside let them have Jordans. And then when they graduate, let them take that shit home.
Like, you want to talk about saving the world, and yet you ain't even trying to save the world. You trying to make Yeezy's world. I mean, you can do whatever you want with your money, but shut the fuck up. If that's the
Well,
case, because
this is partly disingenuous because he didn't say as far as we're going with it. But I hear you. I hear you.
well,
But
he
I still
said he
think,
said what he feels like his ambitions are to be the leader of the free world, and or the world, and do these things. So that's what I mean by that. Like, either put up or shut up. You don't have to be president to do these things.
all right, I will give you that. I'm still taking this. I'm still taking the good part of this, but I'll give you that. But
You watched the interview, man. You saw he sounded like the dude on the back of the bus.
he is the dude on the back of the bus to a certain extent. But the third thing that he said that I thought was really good was when he said he used confidence when he knew what he was doing and arrogance when he did know what he was doing. And I think that's something that we really need to do that. We really need to have some level of cognizance about stuff.
I mean, he doesn't have. I don't think he knows where the fine line between his confidence and arrogance is, because they always been one and the same.
They're not. Confidence.
It's yin and yang, but
Confidence
I
is
still
when
think
you.
there's some division.
Confidence
I
is when
mean,
you approach it and you know what.
have we ever, like, besides music, seen Kanye to look like he know what he's doing?
I mean, I'd say the Yeezys, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, but the thing is, he says he designed it, but he also has a design team. I mean, there's other credits on
I mean,
there.
that's now we're getting to the Edison effect.
I mean, it is the Edison effect. I don't want to take anything away from, because the thing is, I am very hard on Kanye because post MAGA, he had a lot of shit that I agree with. I agree with a lot of what he did and his confidence and his arrogance. But then when he got into that land of once you once you make a certain amount of money and you're around a certain amount of people, and then you start subtracting the people that kept you grounded and then abandoning them to be with that echelon, you create this fantasy world. And like it was a podcast. I think it was the Joe Budden podcast. I'm not Joe Budden, the Joe Rogan podcast, um, where it was somebody talking about that. And I think I can see why, because you like, all right, say the podcast for y'all takes off, and then Riker, you are the one that they want, and they say you can have Armstead and Reed as consultants, but then as time goes on, you starting to get a little bit more shine, and you dip off on them, and you got replacements, but the replacements are not as organic and authentic as them, and your
Yeah.
podcast suffers, and you're
Oh, it
you're
would.
you. You're not getting why it's suffering. You're sitting there and you start changing yourself to try to compensate for what they offer. And while you're doing that, you're losing yourself, because now you don't have them two there to keep you in that realm that made the podcast golden. You're in this whole other realm and you don't know what the fuck you're doing, because you only know the part that you offered, but you don't know what they were offering because they came from them and you can't replace that. So now you're out here trying to prove to these people why you are so great, and you look crazy doing it to the people that ain't as rich as them. Like it just you separate yourself once you start trying to be on that side of things. And that's why I think we look at him like he's crazy now. Because before college dropout Kanye, we got what he was talking about. We saw who he was around. And then now we don't know who the fuck he's around. We don't fuck with the Kardashians like that. We don't fuck with Virgil like that. We fuck with the things that they sell because I mean everybody want to stunt because their name's on it. But other than that, nigga, what are you talking about? Drop the Yeezys, drop some new music that ain't about God, and keep it moving.
I think though that's now an integral part of his identity, and I do appreciate the fact that since then he really hasn't had anything come out where he's used profanity, so he's at least kind of keeping it Christian. Now I think part of it that he needs to do is that, like, I get that Yeezys is your business and whatnot, but there's certain things Christianity wise when it comes to flossing that you just shouldn't do.
Right.
Um, and I think he tap dances on that line quite a bit. But no, I 100% understand what you're saying. Like you can't be authentic if you do away with like stuff like that. And that's something I don't
Right. Have
never
you
have to
gone to
worry
his
about.
have you gone to his campaign page?
It's scattered.
It's yeah, and it's all like buy this, donate this, like a sweatshirt that literally just says what, vote for Kanye or whatever. It's
Well,
$150.
he's running it like a music campaign, and that's kind of the
Yeah.
problem. Is he needs to hire a consultant team that just literally is like, look, stop doing this, do this, stop doing this, do this. We don't care if you're on stuff or not, but you need to do one of these two things if you're going to do it. And I
I
think
agree.
that's kind of the problem that he has, is that he's not running this like an authentic campaign, and he's got too much money to really fail. Like he should, and also if he's smart, he would have just run for state of Wyoming
Governor or something.
representative. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they will literally love having you on there just from a spectator standpoint. That
Yeah.
way you can get something done and then run for Senate. And then I think Kanye, because I mean, Kanye, you're still relatively very young. You're in your 40s. Like
Yeah.
if you ran for one small state representative thing, and then once you did 2 years of that, you do 4 years as senator, then you'd be great to go and try to do like a 2030 takeover. Like no one
That's
could
only
really
only if
32, I mean.
we ain't seeing the early stages of Alzheimer's or dementia, you mean? Because the way
Well,
he going.
but that's kind of another whole thing, is because for a lot of celebrities, I mean, I think a lot of them are on that spectrum. So
Yeah.
we have to see how that goes. But I think if he ran for two offices and kind of got the flow of it, because I think one of the things I can say with confidence is I don't think Washington is going to change Kanye if he gets
No.
elected to something, because
No.
he is too much in his own bubble already and he likes it there. He's
I
comfortable.
I think if he gets that, then we will see the creation of the most arrogant creative in history. You wouldn't be able to literally, unlike the song, no pun intended, you would not be able to tell him shit. I ain't gonna say
Yeah.
nothing because I don't want to play into the song. But yeah, you ain't gonna be able to tell him a damn thing at that point, and he's gonna feel like he was right all along. And I mean, he has the right to feel that way at that point. It's just I have a very big like I'm a very opinionated about public figures who step into that realm of sharing their opinion, because no, you didn't join to be a rapper or athlete or whatever for to be a role model. But the minute you stop talking lyrics and start preaching whatever you're preaching, you are taking on a responsibility that you got to own up to when people start following that shit. Because we do live in a world where people will fucking follow everything a celebrity or a social media personality will say, and that's where I started getting upset with a lot of the what we see with the Cardi Bs and whatnot. I don't care what you say in your lyrics. You can say whatever the fuck you want. This could be good, it can be bad. But once you start telling this shit that you're telling, like how Cardi's talking all this crazy shit, her independence, yet you got Offset making fun of her on his IG with her sweeping up the house and shit.
What's ridiculous here is that Cardi B is getting amped up for a political thing to the Democrats, and it's like, Cardi, you probably gonna be able to make it. Like, especially if you apply in Georgia, I think you can definitely
Yeah,
make
she
it to
will.
Senate, no
I can
problem.
see that too. I think she
But at the
could.
same time, you really have to be careful with just what you say, because Cardi
Yeah.
B, I'll give it to her. Part of it is just she's authentic about her wholeness and authentic about the struggles that she's gotten to this point, regardless of whether we call her Cardi Cosby or whatever. Because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, as R. Reed loves to say, we're not gonna hold women and men to the same standards. So even if she did drug men, nothing's gonna come of that. And
I
that's the
catch you
part
on
about
that.
it is, America's whatever. So whenever
Yeah.
people complain about sexism, I mean, it works both ways. But she's gonna be able to make it to that next level. I think that one day she would like to be like a president or something like that. And what she's gonna find out is that yeah, they'll love you as senator, but white Americans are going to be like, yeah, I saw your tits out. I'm just never going to vote for you because I've done that. Because remember, they didn't vote for Melania. They voted for Trump.
I agree. I actually said when she came up with that old Kurt thing that she does, I felt offended by that when like white people were entertaining it because I was like, that to me is the equivalent of saying you speak so well. It's so cute. Oh my God, that little old Kurt thing you do. Can you do it again? Like, I didn't like that. It felt some kind of way. It's kind of like what Chappelle said. He got the wrong kind of laugh when he was doing his skit. That's what I
Hmm.
felt about her okay thing. Like when she was doing that, I was like, this is the wrong type of attention because now you're becoming a minstrel show when you do that. They're not embracing the culture of it. They don't care nothing about your Dominican heritage. They only think that's cute because it's different. It's
It's
exotic.
ethnic. So
Yeah,
ethnic.
and that's where I can say my perception of her started to change because she openly said, "I'll do whatever for money." And I mean, you take it for how it is. It's like I don't trust people that will do whatever for money at that point.
There
Be-
has to be a line. It's one thing if it's
Yeah,
something that nobody's going to find out about. I mean, there's plenty of people getting their backs blown out or blowing out somebody's backs for
yeah,
the next role, the next whatever, the next stuff that's done that no one's going to have to discuss. I mean, it's one of those
yeah.
things, but it's like I understand people who sleep their way to the top. You don't love it, I don't like it, but at the same time, it is a viable path, and it will always be because power is power, and you can complain about it, but power's never changed since we were
No,
on this earth, regardless of what you think the creation story is. The first guy who had a rock and was able to, turn it into, oh, he's got a way for us to have fire longer. That
right.
man got all the bitches, and it just is what it is.
Oh, I mean, at the end of the day, people got to give it up to the fact that we are by what is it, biological? What is it? Or I forgot the word. I can't think. I'm not versed in it, but we are mammals in a world where we are only here to survive, eat, and fuck. Like, if you look
At
at
the
a
end of the day,
dog,
that
and
is life.
we like I use my dogs period. I love dogs. I got to. You look at a dog and you see the things they do, and it's like, oh my god, that's cute. Change that dog into a person. Now the shit that he's doing ain't cute.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that he wants to just eat,
Yeah,
fuck,
yeah,
piss and stuff in places, and look at you and be like, I don't want to clean it up.
yeah,
That's not cute when it's actually a person who's doing it as opposed to it being an animal. And that's the other part of it is that a lot of people own animals because they like having pet creatures, not that they actually like dogs or they like cats. Because you see that
yeah,
a lot of times with people, and it's like you'll see people who are like, "Oh yeah, I love this. Like, I wish I could train my dog to do all these things." And it's like, okay, you're dangerous
yeah,
because most people like, like I want to train my dog, but I'm gonna let my dog be my dog. Like, I'm not trying to train my dog to go over an obstacle course because there's a lot of suffering in that, and it's not good for
yeah,
dogs' joints and all these other things. So if you're someone who loves that, who just like can't get enough of that kind of stuff, you don't actually want a dog. You want a slave. And it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
this is the type of thing that you're allowed to do. Whereas for myself, I mean, look, I want a dog for protection. He protects the homestead. I'll feed him a nice steak every once in a while and dog food the rest of the time. And we have a mutual beneficial agreement here.
Right.
But
He
at the same time,
understands.
I'm gonna take care of them from birth until death. Because that's the other thing is a lot of people are like, well, what happens when your dog gets old? It's like, well, you keep your dog until you literally have to put them down or they die of old age. Like you can't just
Right.
keep your dog for the fun parts. Like, oh yeah, he was so much fun during the first 3 years. It's like, yeah, but what if your dog lives?
Yeah.
Like you got to be willing to keep doing the same stuff. Like you can't be one of those people who's like 4 years in, like I hate that I have to take this dog out. I'm gonna send him outside, make him outside dog. It's like, nah, bro, you had him inside. Like
I hate
inside
that.
dog can't change to be outside dog. You got to decide at the very beginning what kind of dog do you want this to be, and go off that.
Yeah. I agree. Like it's to some, it's like a low maintenance kid.
Yeah, it's a low maintenance child, and
Yeah.
that's the part that people hate is that you have to actually acknowledge that. But last Kanye thing before we close out here, because I want to be truthful to my statement that I told you, um, unless you just don't care about time. But at the same time, nah, you should get back some time. Kanye said Silicon Valley wouldn't be the same as today if it wasn't for Steve Jobs making information accessible. I thought this was one last poignant thing because without iPhones, I think we wouldn't have the same level of information overload that we have today. And to a certain extent, it's good. Now, you can argue the bad parts, Instagram, the fact that people all want to be Tatianas and all the other stuff, but the average
Everything we
person
seen on
now,
Black Mirror.
exactly, exactly. Like the average person right now has the ability to know more about the world than ever before and connect with people in really good big ways. Like the ability for us to be able to FaceTime my grandmother before she passed away this year
Hmm.
was instrumental, and that would not have happened without Steve Jobs.
Sorry to hear about that, but I know what that's like.
She was 100 and she was 100 plus,
Oh,
so
geez, she lived a healthy life.
anytime that you like she got to literally watch everything that she wanted because like
Yeah,
Obama's actual inauguration, that was for her, that was for
yeah,
her, and her being one of the last vestiges of her people,
right.
because that's something that they were told would never happen. They had to fight just to get regular voting rights, and for her to see a black man walk across that stage put a tear to her eye because she
Yeah,
never thought that she would see it. The same way that like if we ever see reparations when we're like in our 80s and black people all getting them and people are trying to figure out what they're gonna start, that's gonna bring a tear to our eye because it's something we thought we'd never get for America to pay their debt, pay her debt.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm taking that money and I'm leaving this country for good. But yeah, a slight tear, but that's gonna be from the wind.
We gonna build, man. We gonna build, man. Don't leave, man. We gotta build.
I mean, I'm gonna have whatever I have here, but I'm saying I think I would want to finally leave the country because I know how it feels to walk in Europe or certain places in like Asia and even some places in Africa where you don't feel threatened when you're walking outside. You don't look over your shoulder. Actually, it's like it's
We
scary at
don't feel that way here.
how safe you feel. Huh? I don't feel like that out here. I never felt like that anywhere in America. I'm always on the edge looking around because I mean, how many shootings have we had in the last decade?
Sure, I can understand why you feel that way.
Like I wouldn't flee the country just because I now have the last thing I needed to flee the country, which is the
Well,
financial, reserves to just live comfortably and die happy at least, or attempt to.
yeah,
But Kanye is, I think he's partially right because I think MySpace opened up the world of information, and then Facebook to a larger extent, and Steve Jobs just gave us the hardware to do it more frequently.
because yeah, it's a marketed difference between when we had smartphones and
Hmm.
communicated versus when we had beforehand. Because I mean, like I think entire industries probably would have never became really big. Like eating food from home, they probably like pizza joints would probably still be owning that if it wasn't
Hmm.
for a smartphone. Because once you could do it in your hand, it just
Yeah,
made it so much easier, and so much like you can make that bad decision. Like, oh, I'm gonna get that pizza. I'm gonna get ramen tonight because I
right.
can. Like that
Yeah,
that kept so many businesses afloat during the '08 crash was just like people being like, well, I'm hungry. I mean,
I, I'll put it
I'll
like
do what I
this.
gotta do.
I feel like social media, or especially Facebook at that time, was the automobile, and we didn't have a key. And once the iPhone came out, it basically gave us that and all the accessories that come with it because that's when the boom happened with all these new apps. Remember when we used to call the icons, not apps or
Yes,
software?
Hey,
Like now
ex-
software,
everything's an app.
software.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was software. We don't even call it no more. Everybody calls it an app, and
Yeah,
people that operate a free,
I
like,
just
all right, this is
application.
his signal's real bad.
yeah. Ari, your signal's trash.
You don't know
Remember,
how many people don't know it's short for application.
yeah, I know.
Oh yeah, there's a
They
lot of people who don't know that.
honestly ask people what does app stand for, and that
Now
takes
you
it to
just
a whole nother
mean.
level.
Now you
Hey,
just
for real
mean.
though. All right, this is where I'm going at with that because all right, I have an iPhone. I don't have an iPhone because I'm Team Apple. I have Apple products because Apple products are simple. I migrated over from Microsoft because of the how easily they die once you let somebody who don't know what the fuck they're doing on your computer. Um,
True, that's the case.
People that got Samsungs say the same thing. You can do so much. You don't even know how to type 10 words per minute. What can your ass do on the damn Samsung that I can't do on this iPhone?
Damn, this man said you can't even tap
Like
out 10 words
people,
per minute.
yes, the Samsung can do a lot. Me as a computer person, like entry level coder and all the other shit I do with Excel and all that shit, okay. But I don't need that on my phone. I don't want to do it on my phone. That's why I got the iPhone. Also, I felt like it was too broad of a space of a phone. Like when you download an app, you got to actually now search for the app on the Samsung. When I send a file, it's more inconvenient than it was on the iPhone because they don't have iMessage. It's like, all right, I y'all didn't
I
buy
think
the
that was
Apple.
true before 4 years ago. Once Google made it to where you can send everything from
Yeah,
anywhere, it became better. But that was also resisted by Samsung for so long. So your
yeah.
point stands partially.
It's
Is
just, I
that
mean,
they
it
didn't
was the
want to have a
convenience
unified
factor.
system.
It was the convenience factor of it, and then the fact that people got so they started smelling themselves too much because they know how to navigate their phone, that they're tech smart. Like, no, you just know how to navigate a fucking phone. Once you sit in front of a computer, you looking for
10
iTunes
years to
or
Yeah,
agree on USB-C or USB-C. It took them like 10 years for all of them to say, okay, we're going to do it.
yeah,
We're going to do
but
it.
even then they're not doing it. Apple's doing
yeah,
it partially.
yeah. Like it's just I feel like it's people don't even know what to do with these devices beyond what we see now, which is a damn selfie and a streaming software.
I mean, I think that's true to a certain extent. I mean, I have a Samsung and I love how interconnected it can be with all my Samsung devices. But at the
See,
same time,
yeah, that's
Microsoft kind of died on a sword where they were too cocky with it. Whereas if Microsoft had built their tablets up in the
hmm
beginning instead of being like, oh, we're gonna make our own ecosystem, like no, scratch
nobody
that.
wants that.
Make all your stuff Windows based. Make your operating system for your phone Windows based, and make it all interact together. They could have given Apple a run for their money, but they were too cocky and they were just like, we're going to make our own
Oh, oh,
system.
oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
listen. They still run the PC market.
what'd you say?
Yeah, but the PC market is becoming less and
Oh
less
yeah,
because like people like my aunt is literally like, if I have to log into my computer, you can hear her make her groan. She does everything through her tablet, every single thing. And when you talk to these kids, a lot of them are like, "Oh, I got a Mac," and they
yeah,
don't talk about any other type of computer. Like PCs, don't get me wrong, they're still going to be using corporate, and we're still going to force people to learn it. But in 50 years, Mac is going to have taken
N-
over because there's just so
They
many
will
things
not.
that you can do. No, it will take over in 50 years. The
No,
problem with
you know why PC is gonna last around, stick around is because Apple has too many restrictive properties within their hardware, and every
It's the
Fortune
price.
500 company and the government uses a PC.
well,
So
yeah, you're
The
right,
price.
but that is a smaller part of the market than we'd like to admit. Because yes, a lot of the contractors are going to try to mirror the government, but more and more people are stepping away to Apple just because the restrictive aspect of Apple is something that, like my IT team, they love that. They love the fact
yeah,
that they can lock a Mac down faster than you can say Uncle Sam. Like with a Windows computer, especially if the person who's on the other side of it isn't on the network,
hmm
they can do a lot of stuff before their computer will lock.
yeah,
So you really have to take into consideration like the fact that it's mandatory now if you have a business that you have to go through at least 2 to 3 VPNs. Like it's not just a whatever, like it's mandatory because
yeah,
it's so profitable to lock you out of all of your computers and hold you as a ransom because worst case scenario, you don't pay me and that took some of my time. Best case scenario, you pay me some amount of money, and then I unlock your computers or some of them for you, and you end up eating a fat ding dong on it, and I made more money per hour than most people outside of CEOs.
Well, Apple refuses to even do that because they feel like once they release that information, the government or whatever corporation is going to use that to, invade other people's property, privacy. I
I
mean,
mean, no, Apple's right to take a stand on giving full access to everything. At the
and
same
then
time, and that's going to prevent them from getting hardcore DoD contractors and governments. But for everyone else, I mean, again, why is it that Apple is celebrating their billionth iPhone? Because that is actually a large achievement. Google
yeah,
has more phones running, but at the same time, like an Android from 2 years ago is literal gutter trash compared to an Android from today. And there's no comparison of that with iPhones because even if the latest iPhone runs like trash, Apple has made it, or sorry, even if the latest iPhone runs good and the one from 2 years ago has specs that are just kind of trash, the operating system compensates for the trashiness of the software, which is something Android can't do because open source is under attack from
yeah,
every single
yeah.
angle. It has to have security built upon
That's
security built upon security.
that's what Steve Jobs did best. Nah, I mean, it's perfect. You can't change it. It's simple. I don't need you to
Yeah,
go in there. Only thing that sucks about Apple now is I forgot the CEO that's in charge now. All he did was,
Tim
hey,
Cook.
what did Steve do? Yeah, just put it in a new case enclosure and slightly beef up the OS. Like they haven't been innovative since Steve died because there's nobody there trying to be a creative. They just want to
I mean, they
basically.
tried.
Yes
It's
and
just not
no.
very
Yes and no.
successful.
What did
They
they try? What did
tried.
they work? What did they try with though? Apple Watch was
The
Steve's.
Apple
That was
Watch.
his
I know
idea.
I know it was Steve's idea, but Steve didn't perfect it. When the
No,
Apple
but
Watch
he
3
didn't.
from 3 on, it's a different watch. The Apple
But
Watches 1 and 2 are okay. 3
he
is
didn't
where they
perfect any of them
actually
though.
I get
That's
it. I get that there's people working on him, but Steve didn't live to see the three forward.
I
Steve
Yeah,
agree.
but
got the initial
you're
model
you're
ready.
you guys still aren't like the biggest hurdle is the price. I just don't think the price is like you're not gonna beat them. Like
Yeah.
price.
What you
Like
mean, the
just
watches or the phone?
everything they do is expensive. Like if
Oh yeah. But people were paying for the mystique. Not the mystique. They want that sleekness. Like that's why they ever make that price, and it's like they're not even negotiable on it. Like so, go somewhere else and buy it. But you're not going to get this machine. That's
Well, see, I disagree with him about the price, and I'll wait for him to give his final rebuttal here because
yeah.
I think the price thing isn't as much a thing because of. Hey, welcome back, Ari. Finish making your point on Steve Jobs and price, Apple and
ho-
price.
hold on, what happened? Did y'all
You
Nothing.
lose
We
me?
were
got
waiting on.
disconnected.
Yeah.
We were waiting on you.
Wow, that sucks. I just don't think they'll ever be competitive when it comes to price. That's why I believe PCs will always be around. Even with the phone game, that was on Microsoft trying to buy Nokia and buy innovation, but we won't have to go into that. You were right, pretty much everything you said. Android, Android, I think they may take more of the PC market away from Windows and Apple
Nah.
than they're still cheap, man. People love
Well,
those
no,
little
no,
Google
I
Chromes.
get. No, people love them for tablets for kids, but no adult is trying to use that. You're trying to use an iPad, and the thing that Apple has been smartest is allow the iPad Air, which is cheap, to use the pencil and use the keyboard. They basically made the iPad
Look,
Air into the new iPad
let's keep it.
Pro, slim down the money.
Honestly, let's keep it 100 though. Windows is only relevant because people still uses Microsoft Windows in Office, and then the
It's,
Xbox. I feel like
okay,
it's going.
yeah.
If it
Don't
don't,
forget
if
about gaming.
I was gonna say if the Xbox, the new one comes out, suffices it doesn't get blown out of the water like it's been right now with the PlayStation 5, because they already said the PlayStation 5 done broke records. But I don't underestimate Microsoft because they've been able to. They keep their shit. They ain't got the
Hey,
exclusive game on wrap because PlayStation's only winning because of exclusives right now.
Correct.
But when
Correct.
the long run kicks out, I think they're gonna go ahead and show that we got you because they
Well, no,
got
I
their
think,
Bethesda's got a couple things in the chamber. I think
yeah
that Microsoft will be able to pull out of them
yeah.
but
that
that's
they would not be able to do normally.
I still don't think they're gonna beat PlayStation. I really don't. I think PlayStation
I don't
will be
think they ever
dominant.
will be PlayStation because
They don't
I
PlayStation
need to
think
just
though.
they
has.
They
Go
don't
It's
ahead.
need to.
controversial, but I think they will. I think they will this generation. And
No, they will not.
the reason I think they will this generation is Microsoft has actually done literally, and he got kicked out again.
Why does it keep getting kicked out? What is going
I
on?
don't know. I don't know what's going on with our read signal, but Microsoft has done the one thing that they needed to do for a long time, which is put your money into an IP while it's actually still relevant. The problem with
Yeah,
buying Rare is you bought Rare on the backslide, and yes, they made a pirate game, but no one gave two flips about that besides the weird kids who wanted to be pirates, the weird older people who want to be pirates, and a random mom who was like, "This game seems like it's good enough." But Microsoft
I
has bought a studio that has in charge of hot games like Doom, whatever that Wolfenstein stuff is. They've got Skyrim, they've got Star, whatever, and they've got teams now that can actually do things. And
I got a
Microsoft
hot take.
has the money to be able to put into them because it's not like before where Bethesda was like, well, based on cost, like Bethesda can't say cost is a relevant subject ever because Microsoft's last quarter, I don't know if you saw what they did, but Microsoft literally became $1 trillion company because of how good they did last quarter. Like literally, what they did
But
last quarter
Xbox
was
isn't the reason because of that. I hope you know that, right?
no. But
Yeah.
again, why is Sony doing so well with
Oh,
PlayStation?
you
Because
know,
they take money from, or sorry, why is Sony doing so well? Because they take money from PlayStation, which is super profitable, and they use it to prop up other parts of the company.
I
So
mean,
the
that's what a
overall
smart business is
portfolio looks
supposed to
good.
do. You're supposed to use your flagship, product and bring everything else to, surface or fund it, like you said. But
And that's
with
literally
my,
what Microsoft's game plan is
I
about to be with
I can
Bethesda.
I can promise you, I seriously believe PlayStation did one thing that will fizzle out, and that if Microsoft does beat them, it'll be because PlayStation put all its best titles out front as their first
Don't
date.
even have
Like
an exclusive game coming out in the next year or two. Like you got to wait a year. And
yeah, and
Yeah,
like I
you
think
do have to
if
wait a
they,
year,
I
but
promise you, if they didn't have Spider-Man, they would not be killing like they are right now. The way that Marvel is working and how great that first Spider-Man game was, and then they introduced the new God of War, their top two titles. They didn't even introduce
I
like
don't
an
think
Uncharted or nothing.
I don't
Like,
think
but
that's going to be the thing that's going to kill them. I think the thing that's going to kill them is they decide to solder your original SSD hard drive to the chip, and that's going to get real annoying 2 years from now.
true,
Not even
but
sorry, not 2 years from now, a year and a half from now. Because the thing
bro,
that Microsoft did is Microsoft made it to where you can upgrade that. And that's going to be the long-term deciding factor because a bunch of your friends who blew up their PlayStations and now they can't do whatever. Because we can say whatever we want to say about external hard drives. They're great, they're fun, whatever, but they're always going to be slower than a standalone shit that's built into your computer or
yeah,
into your system.
well,
It's always going to
you're
be.
also not mentioning brand loyalty because I'm
yeah,
sorry, the PlayStation is the iPhone of gaming.
yeah,
The
yeah,
PlayStation is the iPhone of gaming, but brand loyalty doesn't exist for a lot of people. Remember, the writer, Stylish, and myself, we only came on for real this generation for PlayStation. So we
But
are
that's
not,
y'all. We're
I've
PlayStation people.
but
I've been
that's
PlayStation
partially
since
why.
PlayStation
I
One.
That's partially
I've
why.
personally always bought
Yeah,
both. Like I always have gotten both. Like I favored Xbox until PlayStation exclusives. I only had the PlayStation 4 exclusives. I
yeah,
just
exactly. Like a
recently
lot of
took
people only buy it for the exclusives, and I
yeah.
think that's going to be less of a deciding factor this gen,
That's the
only
only deciding
because
factor. The
no, it's going
only
to be
deciding
less.
factor.
No, it's going to be less of a deciding factor this gen
But
because we've got two. We've reached the opposite of what you're talking about, Ari. We've reached
what
a
you're
point
not
in
also
time.
putting into account is I don't need to own an Xbox to play Xbox games.
I know, but again, that's still going to
Yeah, that's
pad
true.
their numbers over time because if you start buying into the Microsoft ecosystem, there's nothing stopping them from saying we will give you a Xbox Series X with a girl for dirt cheap. Like again, part of it is how Sony 1 and PS4 was. They got a whole bunch of people at the beginning, and now they don't have the price advantage as of last time. They don't have the connect disconnect that they had last time. So the ability for you to say, you know what, I don't like how tall the PlayStation is, which is a legitimate concern. Like if you're in a small cramped space, that PlayStation is too fucking tall.
You know how
Like
they
we
do
all
that
know.
game though. We gonna get the PlayStation Slim in like a year.
But even if we get the PlayStation Slim in a year, remember the reason Sony won last time was because they got such an insurmountable lead off the top.
Yeah.
And if Microsoft can just keep it competitive and just whatever trend Sony does, they play ball, which is what they've been doing, because they let Sony kick their ass in fake E3, and then they came out of nowhere with a Bethesda deal that had probably been in the works since last year, and just dropped it on people, and that changed the entire perception.
I
I
think
never would have considered that shit before they bought Bethesda.
I also I
go
think
ahead. I'll let you
Microsoft.
go.
Oh my bad. I
Go
think
ahead.
Microsoft is going to prevail with the cross-platform games too. When the Grand Theft Autos come out, the fucking Red Dead Redemptions and shit like that. I think that's when they're going to see a spike because I'm not going to lie, I like playing those games on the Xbox compared to the PlayStation.
Correct.
Okay. With
The
that
community,
said,
the communities
only reason,
are better.
the only real way that they're going to be able to beat them is in America. And if they can, all they got to do is be
Yeah,
relevant in America. But in Europe and Japan, that's a wrap. That ain't happening.
I don't think the same
yeah.
thing for Europe, but I think they're smart enough to not try to play Japan at this point in time. Because I saw that one or two guys who's like, I got an Xbox Series X in Japan. It's like, dog, you realize you were competing against yourself.
Correct.
There wasn't nobody in that line that wasn't an
Yeah,
expat or someone who's just over there to be over there and whatever.
I
So
agree.
Everybody else
I
think
agree with that.
Bethesda is overrated
I think
What's
you're the only
overrated?
person who thinks Bethesda's overrated,
because
Ari.
they come out with a lot of buggy games. I bought Fallout
But
76.
but
Okay.
that's not going to be a problem going forward.
And
Microsoft
I
is not going to let
also
them
think
do that.
Elder Scrolls is going to be on PlayStation.
No.
Remember
I think this
when?
Elder Scrolls is going to be on PlayStation, but all that Microsoft needs is for there to be a good enough Elder Scrolls spin. Because remember, Elder Scrolls has enough lore for them to make a spin-off game that would literally kick ass. And that's the problem with PlayStation. Like for a lot of their really great things that sold them on PS4, they can't make another one. Like yes, they could do it with Spider-Man, and they can make a Spider-Man after this and a Spider-Man after that, and they could probably make another 5 God of Wars easily. But
Yeah.
one of the games that helped sell was what's that game where you have powers in the street?
Oh, Infamous.
Infamous. Yeah, they can't
Yeah,
really make
that game
another one of
was
those.
dead.
Like
No, they couldn't.
literally they killed it. They killed an easy franchise.
Yeah,
Last of Us 2, they literally pissed off half of the subscriber base.
that
They
was a
sold really
disturbing
good
game.
numbers, but there's a lot of people who got really pissy about having to fuck somebody, and I'm just gonna keep it
Oh
100.
yeah, that was a
They
disturbing
got a
scene. I
lot
ain't
of
gonna
people
lie.
got really pissy about having to fuck somebody that they didn't sign up for, like that they
Yeah,
had to do. They had no choice in this. They had to watch the entire scene. And
yeah.
sexual orientation aside, even if this was something where they made someone have to have sex in a game, that's never really happened before. So
R.I.P.
a couple
Joe.
exactly. R.I.P. Joel. But
Um,
Sony
it,
has killed at least two franchises, and they've refused to do basic stuff for like you said forever, Ari. If they could bring back SOCOM, that would be great. And there's just certain things where Sony just is either incompetent or too full of themselves,
you
and
know what
that's
else they
the
they
long
don't
term
succeed
problem.
in? They get killed in the media center aspect of the games too, because most of us use
You
them
can't trust the
as
gaming media.
the central point of like streaming games or I mean movies and stuff like how you can plug a hard drive into the Xbox and download a media player. PlayStation doesn't do that.
Yeah,
Like
like
it's certain
if you got
certain
yeah.
things. Like
That's
all
Well,
right,
niche
no,
though.
that's a
Sling
big
no
thing.
look
That's not
like Sling
Nah,
Sling
it's
TV.
niche.
Sling TV isn't on fucking the PlayStation
PlayStation.
Network. That's
It's
No,
coming.
crazy.
But you
It
know
no,
why
no,
should
they
be
no.
got?
now,
Because they
but
had
it
their
should
own
have been.
service. They had their
Yeah,
own
but it ain't
service.
as good.
Remember?
But nobody wants that compared to a Sling because
Well,
you
it
can
got
use
canceled. Like it's coming.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a matter of if;
Like,
it's a
yeah,
matter of
that
when.
was stupid. Like, I got mad when I had to come upstairs in my man cave to watch Sling on my Xbox when
Don't have
downstairs is
swing.
my fucking PlayStation. Like,
Yeah, that would annoy me to no end, and that's partially why the Xbox is downstairs. Is like I can literally log into my Xbox with my phone and start
You
doing
okay?
shit, and with PlayStation, it's literally impossible
yeah,
because
like
they want you to sit down, put on the controller, or buy their media stick, and it's like no. With Xbox, they're like, oh, you don't want to buy our media thing? Here, download the app. Boop boop boop. You can turn on your
right.
Xbox. You can play videos from your Xbox. You can use YouTube
It's
from your
because
Xbox.
Microsoft is thinking like a tech company. PlayStation is thinking like a gaming company that doesn't want to budge when it comes to convenience.
Yeah. And I mean that's literally the size of it is that I think Microsoft's mindset's going to play out this gen. But
They need
folks, you have to let
sorry,
us know because I've kept them 15 minutes over. I really did enjoy the discussions today, and we did
great.
nerd out a little bit at the end. But if you made it this far into the second podcast, I mean, come on, did you really think we weren't gonna nerd out for a little bit? But
You should be ashamed of yourself if you didn't think so.
exactly. But once again, let them know your IG and everything. DJ All Might.
Yes, it is on IG DJ underscore all underscore Mike, and on Twitter at DJ All Mike. I am here for parties, events, and whatever you want to do, long as it's not country music. From the South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia areas, DM me, hit me up on the timeline. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad to be here. My SoundCloud is in my IG link. I also have it all over my Twitter. So hopefully y'all check out the Everyday Black Man mixtape. I have fun making it. Part 2 coming soon. Thank you for having me.
Hey man, it's been a pleasure having you here.